All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the stream. We're ready to get started. So this will be the final review. Bum bum bum. So we're just gonna sit around, kind of wait for other people to hop on. I'm gonna finish eating my dinner. So just pizza tonight, nothing fancy. So we'll hop on and off so you don't have to hear me, and I'll post some questions on so you guys can look at. All right. Well, I'm mostly done eating. So, yeah. So you guys know the drill. It is working, Tatum. It is working. I was just eating earlier, so I did not want to. I didn't want you guys to have to listen to me munch on food. So, yep. Okay. Okay. So, um, at the moment, I'll probably. I don't know. What do you guys want? Want me to ask you questions? Do you want to ask me questions? It's up to you guys. You guys, let me know in the chat. I can just post more questions that, as I've shown before, or like the review I just kind of put up. I can do more of that. Okay. What do you guys want? You got me here for a while, so let's do this. Abby, I don't know what 1-C is. Okay, is it enough to study all the notes we took in class? Is there anything we didn't go over that I should be looking over? No, just go over the stuff you got in class. So I'm not going to be punishing you guys for not knowing everything that they expect you to know. But I do want to give you like an idea of like, oh, this is, See, the thing is like when you run into the AP exam, you just need to use common sense. So you'll get questions that are talking about certain concepts, and it's like, no, we haven't specifically talked about what these things are, but we've talked about some of the things around it, and if you just kind of like work your way through the questions and stuff, you'll get what's going on, and that happens for a lot of them. So I don't know. There's no like one way to do it. Can I post a giant list of words for you to define, Hannah? You can, but I don't want to define all those. Like, that's what the internet is for. They have people that'll do it for you. So if you want to post a giant list of words, Hannah, and no one else asks me to do anything, I will answer that. I will work through those. But you just, Google. When I say approach, is it similar to the theory? It's like, so when I'm talking about approaches or perspectives or schools, I'm talking about, this is not an American dream. It's gross. I'm talking about like, I don't want to say this. I'm talking about the perspective. I'm talking about the way in which we view how the brain works, and so that's what I'm talking about. So humanistic approach and humanistic theory is the same thing. Like, it's just their viewpoint on what they're talking about. Okay, I'll ask you questions in a second, Rachel. Let me just get through what some people have posted. So, Data, great question. So, if you remember, and we can go back to Schoology for this. If you go to Schoology and you look at one of what I'm thinking, if you look at the outlines will tell you how much is in a unit. So let me show you what I'm talking about, or how much is on the test. And so I would like, No, let me actually pull this up before I start talking about it. So I generally would mention this before every like during every unit or whatever, but it would often be pretty quick. So okay, so we're looking at the history and approaches outline, and what it has is it's 2 to 4%. So basically, 2 to 4% of the AP exam covers history and approaches. So that can be anywhere to from 2 to 4 questions on the multiple choice to a certain number of questions on the FRQ. So that is what they're so that's what they were referring to there. That's what they mean. So how many RTS for the exam? I'm not sure what you mean, Jonathan. I don't know what RTS is. Can you ask questions from the first 9 weeks? Yes, I can, Abby. Eclectic approach is just like a combination of all of them. So, Javier, I cannot tell you what the FRQs are. So, you will find out on Wednesday. Well, I'm having Americone Dream and what is this? Americone Dream. I am house sitting for a friend right now, so I don't only have Teddy. Teddy, come here. I have other dogs. Teddy, come. Oh, come on. The other dogs. Let's see if I can get Deimos to come over here. Deimos and Eli. All right, your time is done. Yeah. Come on, Eli. Come on, Deimos. Come here. No, they're over here. This is them. Eli's and Deimos. So, house sitting. Okay, that's not what you were asking. Sorry. You guys will be fine. Can you go over William James, John Watson, B.F. Skinner? I can. Okay, so I'm going to start with talking about William James, B.F. Skinner, and John Watson real quick, and then we'll get into it. So remember, B.F. Skinner was the behavioral psychologist. He was interested in, or he came up with the operant conditioning, and he's just a behavioralist guy. So just remember the Skinner boxes and all that. William James was one of the founders of the functionalist schools of psychology, and he wrote this like really long book. He wrote the first psychological textbook, which might be important. And John Watson was just another behavioral psychologist. He was like the little Albert guy, the one that he did like aversive conditioning with baby Albert, and like hit the metal ring thing and made poor baby Albert cry. Okay. So you guys want me to ask you questions? Um, do you want me to like post these? Ooh, Jared. Do you guys want me to like post these to like put these up on the screen, or do you want me to ask them out loud? What's the easiest for you guys? What do you want me to do? If I post them on the screen, that way you guys can look at like multiple choice type stuff. What do you want me to do? I wait for you to tell me. Ugh. They've got like these like cones in here, like because it's Americone, and it's like terrible. It's like it's like soggy and gross. I'm done with this. Okay, I'll put it up on the screen. Let me go put this nasty ice cream away. Sure, Dana, I can go over the left side versus right side. Okay. So I had this up a little earlier. Um, okay, cool. I don't know. Do you guys want me to like talk through these? I mean, or do you want to just like look at them and uh, you can ask me questions? I just don't know what you guys want or what would work best for you guys. Um, Dana, I'm gonna get to your question in just a second. Okay. Okay. So Dana, when you are talking about left brain versus right brain, um, just like real basic stuff. Like you're not gonna need to know um, like everything about it, but just some things that you'll want to um, uh, keep in mind is the left brain is language, numbers, and analytical thinking. Um, so kind of like how you like process things and like how you think through questions and stuff like that. Um, and then your right brain is said to be your expression, like your emotional intelligence and your imagination. I, the few things I would take into the things that I've seen and the things that I would take into consideration is definitely the left brain is language, and the left brain is also numbers. Um, and the right brain is better with letters and it's emotional intelligence. So those would be the two major things I would remember for each side: left brain, language and numbers; right brain, emotional intelligence and letters. I mean, there's more or whatever, but none of it's like super sound scientifically. There's like a lot of like open-ended stuff. They're not nothing is set in stone. So, like there are parts of the left brain that do parts of the right brain and vice versa and stuff. The scapegoat theory is not a thing, other than the idea that you take all of your frustration and um, you take all of your frustration out on someone. It's having a scapegoat. Um, it's having someone that you can blame your problems on. It's a lot of like projection or displacement. Aaron Beck was the cognitive psychology guy, cognitive therapy. Um, he was the one that was talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. Excuse me. He was the one that was putting together the like emotions and thoughts and feelings and throw it all together and your behavior. Excuse me. Throw it all together and that's your personality and that's how. And it kind of stemmed the um, rational emotive therapy and stuff like that. So um, basically just taking like these certain like automatic thoughts and trying to help that negativity and people have help people like work through it and stuff. um yep, yep. Okay, are these questions helping you? Like, can I keep scrolling? I scrolled once already. I'm sure you guys are hoping these are like questions to a test. I assure you they are not, or like a test that you would take. But this is a old um, final exam. This is what I was giving before I started doing the full AP, like just straight up AP exam. So I asked a couple of these questions today. This is what I was looking at. Okay. And there will be 5 answer choices instead of 4. I don't know why this only has 4. Drives me crazy. All right, cool. Well, like I said, I'm just gonna chill here until you have questions for me. Uh, no, no. And the reason why is that um, this is like a large bank of questions that I could pull from and use later. So, good question, Fadi, but I will not be posting this to Schoology. Nope, nope, nope. It is the last review, Hamza. No one's asking me a question, though. Oh my gosh. Yeah, sorry, Fadi. I feel you, brother. I feel you. I'm doing the best I can. Paytown. Look over my notes. You're in on this session, so you're halfway there. That's helpful, I guess. What do you guys want me to talk about? Scroll down some more. Is number 11C. Great question. All right, Professor Long attributes the violence of criminal gang members to the norms and roles and expectations associated with gang membership. Sociocultural. Yes, very good. Sociocultural. Well done, Siddharth. Well done. That's definitely social cultural. You want to look at. Ooh. 4th period, we had some fun with question number 4 today. This is what I was reading from. I can. Remember the lobes of the brain? Let me pull up a picture for you. Dana, I'm going to show you this real quick. So guys, hold up. I'm going to show Dana this real quick. And then Dana, this, I know this is showing lobes, this is showing 1st period, but on biology of behavior, in the biology of behavior folder, this is right here. So occipital, temporal, parietal, frontal, and then below it, it talks about all the stuff that it's in charge of. So along with the brainstem and cerebellum, just because. So let me go back for the rest of you. Okay. So when we're talking about the lobes of the brain, just remember frontal lobe is all about like problem solving. It's all about higher order thinking, like processing memories. It helps with our judgment. It helps with a lot of our like fine motor movement. It's something that's you guys are like still developing and stuff, and that's just why I'm so smart. And you guys are still like working through it. So it's a big part of it. And then you've got your parietal lobe, which is the back top half. One of the big things it does is sensation, as our ability to feel and stuff like that. And then you have your occipital, which helps you hear. I'm sorry, that's the temporal. The occipital helps you see, and the temporal processes the things that you hear. So, okay. All right. What's prejudice? I keep getting those questions wrong. Okay, so remember, prejudice is just like negative thoughts and feelings that you have for a person of like a different gender, a different race, or something like that, a different thought process than you. And the difference between prejudice and discrimination is you like actually doing something. So I might be like, oh, I don't, like this person because of blank, blank, blank. And then a discrimination would be like going out and doing something about it, like I'm going to cut their tires or something like that. Good question, Hamza. Okay. Fadi, can you go over the social, cultural, and humanistic and the rest of them, specifically on their differences? Are you talking about? Oh, you're just talking about the approaches? Yeah, I can do that real quick. Okay, so let me grab like a list of them. So I do these in order. Let's see, do I have anything? My history and approaches folder? Oh my gosh, I do! A psychological perspective summary? What? Crazy! All of these resources for you guys. Let me show you. Oh my gosh, Mr. Monk. So smart. It's like you knew what they were going to ask. And OMG. So, yeah. Nope, that's not what you want to look at. You do not want to look at that. You want to look at. Where'd it go? Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. This would be way better if I had this immediately. So in your Fadi, in your history and approaches folder, you have the psychological perspective summary. So Gestalt, behavioralism, all this stuff. And this is pretty simple. You can just kind of take a look at these. You don't need to know everything. But you'll need to know like the main focus and stuff like that, and how it's defined, who are the people, Charles Darwin, and evolutionary. So yeah, so that's something you'll want to keep an eye on. Give me a second. I'll talk through some of them very, very quickly. Let me just keep bouncing around between the places. All right. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. Okay. Remember, Gestalt Psychology, the first one, well, actually, let's start from the beginning. So the first one is structuralism. It is the first school of psychology to come out. It was started by Wilhelm Wundt, and basically they are they're the first group to come out as they are looking to explain the world. It's not the world. Explain why people do the things that they do based on that what is like inside. And so remember, they were talking about using introspection, where you look inside of yourself and you express what's going on. And basically, introspection just didn't work very well, and so the entire thing just fell apart, which was unfortunate. And so that's going to fall apart. And then functionalism is going to come around. It's going to stem from evolutionary psychology, Charles Darwin, and they're going to be like, this is started by William James, and they're going to be like, oh, hey, the reason why we do things is because we're following along with what other people, with what our ancestors did. The reason why I'm doing this, or the reason I think these things, is because of that. And then also, if you go to the history and approaches folder, I have a theoretical perspectives, and this is just like a real like bare bones example, talking about the subject matter and the basic principle and like the main contributors, the people that helped out. So if you see that, Fadi and the rest of you, theoretical perspectives in psychology PDF, a real nice breakdown of all that. So. Okay, I'm gonna let that answer your question. If you have more, I can answer more specific stuff. But I'm already backing up on questions, so I'm gonna move on. What's the difference between the Broca and the Wernicke's area, and where are they located? Remember, Broca's area is dealing with the way in which we speak and the muscle movements of the mouth. And so, if you remember watching that video, the guy wanted speak and to talk, but he just couldn't get his mouth to do anything. And he knew what he wanted to say. He understood what was going on. He just couldn't do it. So that's in like the frontal and the temporal lobe. The Wernicke's area is in the temporal lobe mostly. And it's basically everything is wrong. Like your just ability to understand speech and to speak it is just completely out the window. So you can't understand what anyone's saying. And then when you try to express, nothing's going on. So that's the Wernicke's and Broca's area. Okay. Hannah, can you go over the law of effect? Sure. So remember the law of effect um, was put together by Thorndike, and Thorndike was, putting those cats in those cages, and his question was like, how do animals in the wild learn anything? Like, how do they process information? How do they learn from their mistakes? And basically, Thorndike's just like, oh, well, it's basically just trial and error. And so the law of effect is learning based on consequences. Everything that you do has some sort of consequence. You study for a test and you get an A. Well, there's a consequence for that study. You got a good grade, and you're like, woo! You study for another test and you fail it. Well, how are you going to study again? Heck no, there's no point. Like, or maybe you study harder, or like, I've, know people who just kind of like throw in the towel, like, screw this, it's not worth it. I studied for 3 hours for this stupid test and still failed. Like, drop that class or do something else. Yep. So that's the law of effect, and it came before is the predecessor, or excuse me, it came before operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner took a lot of ideas from Edward Thorndike's law of effect when he was putting together operant conditioning. Okay, Carrie. Who's Carl Rogers and what did he do? Remember, Carl Rogers is a humanistic psychologist. He is big on therapy, and I don't think I had this conversation with you, but Carl Rogers is the man. Like, this guy recognized that people just needed someone to talk to. It's called unconditional positive regard. And so in Carl Rogers' mind, if you treat someone as, not if they can do no wrong, but if you, whatever they say, you have a positive outlook on that person. Like, whatever you did does not define who you are. You are a good person on the inside. And if you think about humanistic psychology, that's what it's all about. It's all about who you can be, like trying to help someone become the best that they can be. And so when you have unconditional positive regard for someone, even if they cheated on their husband or cheated on their wife or did something really stupid, doing really like hardcore drugs, like, you're not going to be like, oh, judgmental. And so as part of that unconditional positive regard, Carl Rogers is like, hey, listen, what if we treated our patients more like clients than people that, like, we were the doctor and superior. So he also came up with client-centered therapy. And client-centered therapy is all about, like, treating you as an equal. When you go to a therapist or you go to the doctor knows everything and they tell you what to do and you follow along. And what Carl Rogers is just like, you know what? No, like, people need to feel welcome. They need to feel as if they have the power to solve their problems. And so Carl Rogers is all about, like, treating the person as a client, as an equal. And in the end, like, Carl Rogers just, like, listened to people. He used a lot of active listening techniques and just like, oh yeah, is that, tell me more. Oh man, that really sucks. And so people would just bawl, like, grown men, after 30 minutes in his office were just like weeping because they're just like, man, I've just never had anyone actually listen to what I was saying. And so Carl Rogers is great. He's got a lot of good stuff he's doing. So just remember active listening, unconditional positive regard, and client-centered therapy. That's your boy, Carl Rogers. All right, good question, Carrie. All right, next. I'm super. Oh, how far behind am I? Oh, I'm not too far behind. Okay. Fatima, can you explain Ash experiment by Solomon Asch? Sure. So simply put, the Asch experiment is talking about oh my gosh, following other people. What's that word? Where you follow conformity. So uh, Solomon Asch did this study basically on conformity, where he had these people like look at these line lengths and try to decipher, which was the same length. And basically, he got a group of like 6, 7, 8 people, stuck them in a room, and asked these questions. Except for the only person that was there that didn't know what was going on. There was only one person there that didn't know what was going on. Everyone else was in on the game, and so they would the 7 that were in on the game would answer incorrectly to see if the one guy that was actually being studied would follow along. And what they found is that very often they would, and because we're social creatures. We do not want to be outside of the norm. We don't want people to think badly of us. I'm sure that plenty of you have had an instance where you're in a class and the entire class is just like, oh, the answer is this, and you're just like, oh, no, it's definitely this, but you don't say anything because you don't want to be outside the norm of what people are doing. And uh, uh, and so you just don't say anything, and then when the teacher's just like, oh, well, it is this answer, and you're just like, oh, I told you so, suckers. Yeah, so oftentimes we just follow along with whatever the group's doing, and conformity is a big thing, and we all know that. So that's Solomon Ash's study. Good question, Fatima. Okay, Tatum. Is there anything on the test that is not on the review? I don't know, Tatum. Just study the dang review. Study your notes. Just, I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember. I didn't make this test. Someone else did. That is half the point. So study, you'll be fine, I'm sure. I promise. Mostly. And if you're not, well, you can come after me later. Okay. What are the percentage of units on the test? Because you know how before tests you say there's 80% and this is 20% of it. Yeah, a great question, Fadi. Yeah, just go on the if you go to each section and you go to the outline, if you go to each of the units, history and approaches is like 2%, and then states of consciousness is 2%, 2 to 4%. Biology of behavior is 8 to 10%. Sensation and perception is like 5 to 7. So anywhere between 10 and 2% will be it. So, like I said, sensation and perception I think are 5 to 7. Testing an individual intelligence I think is 2 to 4. Learning I think is 5 to 7. Cognition is 8 to 10. Motivation and emotion I think is 6 to 7 or 6 to 8. Development is 6 to 8. Research methods is 8 to 10. Social psychology is 8 to 10. Personality is 5 to 7. Abnormal is 6 to 8, and then treatment is like 5 to 7. Percent. All of those are percentages. I don't know if all of those are correct. That's just me off the top of my head trying to remember all of this. I'm not going to go through all that. So, yep. But like just anywhere between 10 to 2 questions on the exam. That's what you're looking at. Fadi, good question. Okay, Indra, are you going to do the AP curve on the final? Maybe, Indra, maybe. But yes, definitely I will be doing that. There will definitely be a curve. Carrie, can you also go over the different types of therapies like somatic and everything? Carrie, girl, I am not going to go over all of those. That is going to take too dang long. If you go to the treatment section, you have the little reading there. If you have a specific question about one of them, ask me. But all that stuff is super fair game for the test. Whether or not they have it up there is, up to them. But if you have a specific question about one of them, I'm super okay with talking about it. But I'm not going to sit here and try to talk about all of them. So this just take too long. Okay, Tatum, if someone has Broca's aphasia, can they use sign language? No. Great question, Tatum. No. They have the same issue of moving their fingers properly. Good question. because that's the part of the brain that would still in that frontal lobe and that fine motor movement. Because very often people who are deaf, um, they like those motor movements that would be for the mouth, like kind of help out with the hands, and so they have better. Um, they're more dexterous with their hands. So, good question. Okay, what's the difference between psychodynamic and psychoanalytical? Oh, Peyton, great question. Okay, the only difference is that psychoanalytical is the original. That's Sigmund Freud, and his was psychoanalytical, and psychodynamic are the neo-Freudians. So the people who were like, we don't like Sigmund Freud's we like most of his stuff, but some of his stuff is just too weird. All the sex stuff. We're gonna be the psychodynamic. We're cool and interesting and dynamic. So that's just the break. So psychodynamic, psychoanalytical, and sometimes they use them interchangeably. I don't know. It's weird, but psychodynamic is the newer one. So, yep. Um, Can you scroll down? Oh, Fadi, I'm so sorry. Jeez, that's so late. My bad, guys. I'm trying to juggle too many things at once. Here you go. My badsies. Just blabbing over here. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. Okay, can you summarize the James Longa theory and the Cannon-Bard theory and their differences? Yeah, sure. Okay, so James Longa and Cannon-Bard, they're both just talking about our emotions. Okay, and how we feel our emotions, how they're expressed. So James Longa is you have a physical reaction, you see the stimulus, or you sense the stimulus, whatever. You have a physical reaction, and then you have the emotion. And basically, what it's saying is that the reason why you have this certain emotion is completely dependent on the physical reaction that you end up having. Um, so yeah, so the Cannon-Bard theory, the only difference is that what am I saying? The only difference is that the emotion and the physical response happen at the same time. So you physically, your heart's beating really fast, and you feel, terrified of the bear or whatever. So James Longa, physical reaction first, and then the emotion. Cannon-Bard, physical reaction and emotion happen at the same time. So, yeah, emotion theories, PLOX. I don't know what you mean. Peyton, can you go over the parts of the brain? What, all of them? No. They're on Schoolology. If you want to look at Schoolology, they have them. And if you want to ask me about a specific one, I can answer, but I'm not going to go over all of them. That's crazy. All right, Dana, can you go over the psychodynamic drug? Oh gosh, they're called it's psychedelic drugs. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let me go to um. They're under states of consciousness. What am I looking at? Okay, so in the I'm almost all caught up. Okay, Daniel, let me answer Fadi's question real quick because yours is going to take a minute. Fadi, rods and cones are the eye's sensory receptors. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down on this bad boy. What the heck happened here? Are the eye's sensory receptors, and basically all that is happening is the rods are good at picking up peripheral vision and movement, and they see in the dark. And then your cones are in the center of your eye. They help you focus on something, and they also They help you focus on something, and they also help you see color. So those are the difference between rods and cones. Okay, so Dana, going back to you, let's make sure that you know the different types of drugs. And on the guys, I'm going to hop off this really quick so we can go to the Schoology page. Okay, so one of the links that I have is it's once again it's under states of consciousness, drugs, the AP psychology community. Okay, this gives you a real quick rundown. Most drugs work in one of three ways. You have an agonist, antagonist, and reuptake inhibitor. Okay, make sure you need to know these. This is basically how they interact with your neurotransmitters. Okay. Oh, excuse me. So your um, uh, the agonists are going to help your neurons fire. They're going to make them fire more, and antagonists are going to slow down the rate of your neurons firing. And reuptake inhibitors, remember, reuptake is the recycling of neurotransmitters. So basically, when those neurotransmitters try to come back, reuptake inhibitors are going to like block it. Okay, so make sure you know the different types. You have stimulants, you have depressants, and you have hallucinogens. Okay, so make sure that you know the difference between those. And then you have your drug chart. There's so much drugs and consciousness is so exciting. Okay, so you have your drug chart here, something that you can keep an eye on. Remember, look at what they are. You have your stimulants, you have your depressants here, more depressants, and you have your hallucinogens. Make sure you know that LSD and mushrooms and psychedelics are all hallucinogens, and these are depressants and stuff like that. This is this is an old chart. I had people put this together, but this is better. So, okay, cool. That's what I got for you on that. Unless you have a specific question about them, those are all the resources that I have available for you. So there you go. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna push you guys back up to this so you can look at more questions. Okay, so Fadi, Gestalt Psychology emphasis. Gestalt Psychology is looking at the whole, is most often referred to and used when looking at perception, and so that you have all those concepts in the sensation chapter, where it's talking about trying to things that are similar, things that are linear, things that have shape or whatever. We try to like bring together to make one thing, and it's just the way in which we make the world simpler, so it's easier for us to understand. So that's Gestalt psychology, is looking at the world as a whole, not the individual parts. Okay. Carrie, the three dream theories are the information processing theory, the Freud's wish fulfillment theory, and the activation synthesis theory. Yeah, those are the three. If you have a question about those, you can ask. Okay, so Natasha, when you're asking about polarization and depolarization, my guess is you are talking about neurotransmitters. Okay, so, so this is something that I don't talk about in class because it takes a long time to explain, and it can be confusing, especially when we start talking about it's okay. So think about the entire period that we spend talking about neurotransmitters, and we talk about all the parts, we talk about how it functions, we go to the bathroom and have that little fun thing, and the problem is that it gets so much deeper, and that's where this polarized and depolarized comes in. And so it's talking about all of the different chemicals that are inside your body that are like released and let go. So basically, you have like this. The neurons, like the outsides are like positively charged, the insides are negatively charged, and then they like switch as an action potential goes through, and that's like the way that it like travels through the body is the a a neuron being depolarized and becoming polarized as it goes through. And I skip it because if it's on your freaking AP exam, it's going to be one question, and I'm not going to spend 30 minutes trying to explain this and have tons of people in confusion over one question. So I it, I just skip it. Like it's a lot for very very little. So yeah, yeah. So that's what I would say about that, Natasha. Um, uh, so if you want me to talk to you, um, if you want me to talk about it later, I can. Okay. So sensation of touch, you have pressure, pain, cold, and warmth. Um, yeah, that's it. So burn, like think of like a burn injury or something that's just pain. Um, think of something as simple as like being having an itch or someone like tickling you or something. That's just your pressure. And remember, the only receptor cells that we have in our sense of touch is pressure. Pressure, 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 pressure. Okay, good question, Carrie. Okay, Dana, how in depth should we study hypnosis, like suggestibility, dissociation, pain control? I would know those definitions, Dana, and then anyone that is tied to it. So anyone that's tied to like pain control or dissociation, any names that pop up, I would know those. Zane, you subscribed. Why? Why, Zane? Why? Thank you, I guess. Wonder how many people. I don't even know how many followers I have. I don't even know how to check that. I have no idea how to check that. I'm sure it just really does not matter. So, okay. Um, Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I have to check. I have to figure out how many. Oh, I can look at all of the people that have subscribed. Oh, no, I don't even know how to do this. Okay, my caring for this has disappeared. Okay, so I will scroll down on the questions. 7. Okay. Yes, that is correct, Hannah. Who is Nabihan Chowdhury? I don't know who you are. I will not answer your question until you tell me who you are. Who is this person? Who is asking about stages of sleep? Mozam! You are not even in psych. Yeah, you tell him, Mozam. You tell him. I don't even know who this person is, but I mean, I guess opponent processing theory. Uh, okay. Are you talking about the one for emotion? Is that the one you want to know? I'm guessing that is the one you want to know. Okay. Or Carrie, when you're talking about the opponent processing theory, are you talking about for vision, or are you talking about for emotions? Which one do you know? Want to know? Yes? Wait, what is yes? Carrie, I don't know which one you want to do. Do you want to do it for emotion or? That's okay, Tatum. It's only one thing. You guys are gonna do great. Don't panic over any of this. If there's something that you don't know, it's okay. You're not gonna know everything on the AP exam. You're not supposed to. It's a zillion things. It's here. Maybe this will make you feel better. Here's Teddy. Say hello, Teddy. Yes. Does that make you feel better? Thank you, Teddy. Okay. Okay, cool. So there's Teddy. That should make you feel better. He wants you to feel better. Right, Teddy? No, he doesn't. He just wants me to go play fetch or something. Okay, let me pull back up things that are actually important. Okay. Okay, so very quickly, the opponent processing theory, when we are talking about vision, is talking about color blindness and like how we see color. And so basically, the opponent process theory is saying that one of the ways in which we like know the different types of color uh, is based on what colors are there and are not there. So colors like green and red are opposites and yellow and blue are opposites, and so um, what you can do is you can your eyes recognize color based on the amount or unamount of those colors in there, and so that's what happens when you might have seen a picture like this, where if you stare at the picture for like 30 seconds and then close your eyes, you'll see that same picture but in like a different color, as in like lights in your eyes, and that's like showing the opponent process theory. Now, the opponent processing theory in emotion is just basically saying when one emotion is experienced, the other is suppressed. So pretty similar to the other one. So if you are like scared, so for the emotion one, if you are scared by like a dog, let's say Teddy scared you or something, um, uh, the emotion of fear is like is shown, and the opposite, which would be like relief, would be suppressed. And so that's one of the ways um, that you know that like you're afraid, is because you have no relief. And if that stimulus or whatever, like the dog, continues uh, you'll probably end up not being as scared, and your relief will then intensify. So the opposite will happen. So let's say that you have, or I said the thing stays. Let's say that the dog disappears. Well, then your fear is going to go away, and your relief is then going to come back up. And so that relief is going to show that is the opposite of it. And so you know that those are the two different relief. Those are the two emotions that you are feeling. So, yep, yep. So there you go. All right, bam. All right, my hour's done. We only have 23 people watching. Can we be done? Do you guys need more help? Can I go to bed? Or do you guys need more? What else do you want? What else? And who's this Nabihan person? They just subscribed to me. Are you Nabihan? Are you taking this next semester? You just trying to get a jump on it, or are you just creeping? You just creeping? I can't do. Thank you, Fuddy. I will do that. I know. I cannot date them. If you want them, you're going to have to frantically write them down or take pictures of them, which I hope you guys aren't doing. I am showing them to you anyways. I probably shouldn't, but I trust you. I don't know if I should. That's nice saying. All right. All right. What else you guys got? Any more questions? Oh, Dana, what did you ask? I'm sorry. Did I just miss something? Oh, yes. Thank you, Vadi. Okay. So, okay. The main points of sensation: vestibular, kinesthetic, and chemical senses. Okay. So, um, okay. So let's start with your vestibular versus kinesthetic sense. So remember when we are like those are the two ones that you that I don't want you guys to like get mixed up because they that often happens, unfortunately. So remember that when we are talking about your vestibular sense, um, we are looking at what am I doing? One second. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. So the vestibular sense is going to be your is that sense of balance that you have, um, like your body position. It's that fluid that's inside your ears. And so when you get dizzy or you've been spinning around in circles, basically that fluid is all messed up. So your vestibular sense is your sense of balance, and your kinesthesis is just knowing where um, your body parts are, like closing your eyes and being able to recognize that your arm is above your head or somewhere else. So yeah, so make sure you don't get those two mixed up. Vestibular sense is your balance, and kinesthesis is where your body parts are. So for chemical sense, chemical sense is taste and smell. Your sense of taste and your sense of smell are both chemical senses, and you know how those work. So there you go. Okie dokie. All right. Remember, Carrie, your dominant sense is your vision. It is why you rely on it so much. Remember, we talked about the McGurk effect, where you had that person going like ba ba ba, but it saying ba ba, but they actually looked like they were saying ba with an F, and you heard fa instead of ba. That's part of um, your eyes being your most dominant sense. No, Fadi, I'm not putting up any. Those they're done. No more are up. You can look at those if you go back, but those are showed you like 60 questions, so I feel pretty comfortable with those. And a lot of it was from early stuff, so around 50 questions. So no more questions on. All right, what else you heroes got for me? You don't got any more? Yeah, it's I upload all of them, so you can definitely watch it later. That's nice, Zane. Good luck. Gate control theory. That's just your body's ability to control pain. It's saying that your skin doesn't tell you about pain. It's your brain. Your brain tells you whether or not you're in pain, and so you can kind of like turn it off. You can control it. There's like a gate in your spinal cord that lets you do that. Oh, sure. I can put up a stimulus example. Sure, sure, sure. What do you want to know? Let me do. Let me see if I have any examples on Schoology that I can give you. Okay, so um, just simply put, when looking at classical and operant conditioning, and when we are talking about that's what you're asking, right? You want to know about neutral stimulus and conditioned stimulus? Yeah. Okay. So remember, like your neutral stimulus versus your unconditioned stimulus versus the conditioned stimulus. Okay, so remember that the neutral stimulus is kind of like your big point. There's some sort of thing outside of what is going on that is affecting, um, that is becoming an aspect of what's happening, but it never was originally intended to do that. So in this example here, a toilet flush should not make you jump back from the shower. It should have nothing to do with it, but it does, because continuously, every time the toilet flushes, the shower gets really, really hot. That's what happens in my house. It's like insanely hot, like scald your face hot. It's awful. So that's classical versus operant conditioning. So I can give you some. I'll show you some more examples here. You can just look at these while I answer some more questions or whatever. Okay. Sound and light waves. Dana, just remember, when we're talking about waves, you're talking about the frequency and the amplitude. The amplitude is the height of the wave, so that's going to talk about how loud a sound is. And then it's also going to tell you how bright a color is. So if the amplitude is really high, so the height of the wave is really tall, then it's super, super bright. So if someone's wearing like neon, they have a really high amplitude. If it's a really low amplitude, then it's a really soft sound. And the color is like really dull, so like gray or brown or something like that. And then when you have um, when you're talking about the frequency, the distance between waves, you're talking about, for color, it's red or blue. So the higher the frequency, the more red it is, and the lower the frequency, the more blue it is. That might be switched. I can't remember, but it's on there. And then for sound, that's going to tell you the pitch. The faster it's going, or the lower the faster the frequency, the higher the sound, and the lower the frequency, the lower the sound. So, yep. Okay. Okay. So manifest content is talking about is going back to Siggy Freud, and it's talking about it's talking about dreams. And so, just showing you some more of these classical and operant conditioning examples. Oh, here's John Watson again, Baby Albert. Okay. So um, so the manifest content versus the latent content. The manifest content is the storyline of the dream. It's what you actually dream about, like running away from the robber or jumping off a building or something like that. And then that's the the symbolic version, the dream that you actually remember. It's the PG version. It's the conscious dream, but the unconscious dream, like the real meaning, is the latent content, and that's buried deep beneath. So, good question, Rachel. Okay, Tatum. Yes, thank you, Tatum. Yes, according to Siggy Freud. Okay, Dana, Weber's law. So Weber's law is when we are talking about the difference threshold. So the difference between two things. So you have the difference between the sound of this versus the sound of this, and your ability to tell the or here, let's do this, the sound difference between that and that. Your ability to tell that difference is your difference threshold. Now, the percentage change between two things is Weber's law. So every different type of stimulus is going to have a percentage difference when we are able to notice it. So I like using weight because it's the easiest to talk about. When something changes, when a weight changes 1%, we are generally able to notice it 50% of the time. So I'm holding 100 pennies in my right hand, and I take 1 penny away. Or is it 2%? Oh no, I think it's 2%. Anyways, you don't need to know the specific numbers. And I take 2 pennies away. I might notice it, but I might not. 50% of the time I will, and 50% of the time I know. So we do it 50 times. We do that 50 times. 25 times out of 50, I can be like, oh my gosh, I noticed the change. And the other 25 times I'm like, I'm not so sure. So Weber's law is just saying that depending on the sense, there is a specific percentage difference. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Hannah. You are filling in for Corbin today, who is absent. So good work. Okay, what are heuristics? Heuristics are your rule of thumb. It is a way in which we solve problem, most often a way in which we solve like social problems, social issues. We're not going to we're not going to go through an algorithm. We're not going to go step by step and solve everything, one step at a time. We are going to, just kind of, just how do I want to say this? We're just gonna, go with our gut. What should I say to this really cute person that I like? Oh, I'm just gonna say this because you're not gonna formulate out. There's no like algorithm that's gonna get you a date or get the person to be attracted to you. So, oh, good. You guys are answering some of these questions. Okay. Do we have to know about those crazy experiments that we went through in class? No. Yeah, great question. No, Fadi. No. That is all about ethics. That's the only thing I want you to know. Yeah, you need to know about the different aspects of ethics. That's what I need you to know. Okay, schemas. Okay, so schemas are like similar to it's kind of similar to heuristics, but basically, it's like a way of thinking, or it's like a behavior. How do I want to say this? That helps you like organize like categories of information, and so um, when we are talking about dogs, like when we're talking about dogs, like dogs is a way of categorizing those animals together. So when I talk about my dog, I'm not going to be like my chocolate lab mix with German Shepherd. No, I'm just gonna be like, that's my dogs. Okay, so schemas are ways that our brain like kind of puts things to. So like for me as a teacher, so it's like, what does my job involve? there's like a million things that I'm supposed to do. What is your work, like you being a student, what does that involve? And so we'll kind of like categorize a bunch of things that can like put together and make sense and make things make it easier. Okay, cool. Zane, I don't know what you're talking about. Put the answers for the 60 questions you gave us so I know which ones I got wrong. No, I cannot, Fadi. I definitely cannot give you the answers to those. You can ask me a question about one. The different grouping techniques for perception. What do you want to know, Dana? Don't, just know that that like I don't think you'll ever. You just look at the pictures. Look at the pictures in the notes. Does anyone watch? Hey Zane, dude, I'm gonna like boot you if you keep talking about random junk. That is not what we're here for. So don't do that, please. Okay. Okay. You good? Can I give you questions that you can get the answers to? Sure. What chapter or what unit do you want questions from? I can give you guys a few. But I don't, there's 14 chapters. Where do you want it from? Random? Okay. Oh yes, Fadi. So many scenarios. But they won't be as long as those case studies that we did. Rehearsal carry is just you doing something over and over and over again, and it helps you remember stuff. So, like studying for the test, you go over things multiple times, or studying a dance routine. You definitely don't do it once. You do it multiple times, so it helps you remember it. That's rehearsal. Okay, let's go with a question. Sure. I'll post them in the. I am just posting a question too. There you go. Choi has just gone to bed. Lying there, Choi immediately falls asleep and goes straight into REM sleep. This is caused by her lack of sleep the previous 3 nights. What phenomenon is this called? Good. REM rebound. Yep. REM rebound. No, Rachel. Oh, no. No, Sigmund Freud did not consider those to be Sigmund Freud did not consider those to be defense mechanisms. Interesting question, though. But no. Okay. If Dr. Rubinstein wishes to conduct an experiment on the effects of stimulating the reward centers of a rat's brain, he should insert an electrode into what part of the brain? Ooh. What do you guys know? What part of the brain deals with reward? Does a bunch of other stuff too. Not the cerebellum. Remember, cerebellum does motor movement. That's why, dancers and baseball players and stuff, they have like enlarged cerebellums because they use it so much. Hypothalamus. Very good, Rachel. Hypothalamus. Dana, those are on each of the outlines. So each of the outlines tells you. So don't. It's too late at this point. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Okay. Next question. About this a little bit earlier. Here's the next one. Yep. Processing speech and speaking. Processing speech and thinking. And speaking. Both of those would be issue. Issue for George or Greg, whatever his name is. Okay, next one. First part, second part. Several months, Claudia has been taking increasingly larger doses of barbiturates sleeping pills to treat insomnia. After some time, Claudia realizes she can't stop taking the pills. Even when she doesn't need them, she craves them. What has she got? Yeah, multiple approach avoidance is so silly. Think about anything that you do in life. There are good things about it and there are bad things about it. So, Rachel, you will soon be trying to figure out what college to go to. Well, Harvard has some really good things, but it's far away. It's really expensive. Rice is also is really good, but it's expensive. I think it's a private school, and so I don't want to build up a lot of debt. It's a little too close to home. I don't want to live with my parents. I want to kind of get away. So it's making a decision about something and having good things about it and bad things about it. Yes, an addiction. Good. Okay. Okay. So let's find more questions. There you go. In Huxley's Brave New World, infants develop a fear of books after books are repeatedly presented with a loud noise. In this fictional example, the loud noise is considered a what? What is it? It is what kind of has to do with learning. We talked about it a little bit later or earlier. Carry positive symptoms when talking about schizophrenia are hallucinations, delusions, and the disorganized thinking. They're considered positive symptoms because they are acting out. Negative symptoms is that lack of emotion, not doing anything. Positive is these things are being added on and they're not good. So Yes, the unconditioned stimulus is correct. Good, good, good. This one's. It'll be interesting if you guys remember this one. Okay, next question. UCS is the unconditioned stimulus. Conditioned stimulus happens after the neutral stimulus has been paired with the unconditioned stimulus, after acquisition is happened. So, learned helplessness. Nice, Tatum. Nice. I mean, sure. Yeah. Yes, Hannah, it is part of the law of effect, but more specifically, it's definitely learned helplessness. So, more specifically, it's learned helplessness. Good. But it is, I mean, it is an aspect of law of effect or operant conditioning or whatever, but more specifically, it's learned helplessness. Okie dokie, artichoke. Okay, I'm gonna stop asking questions because we've got 2 minutes left, and I want to know if anyone's got anything else. Any last words? Well, I'll put up one more question, but I'll ask. Does anyone have anything? Anything that they really want to know? Any pressing questions? All right, there we go. There's your last little question that I'll put up. But otherwise, any last words? There are a bunch of them, Dana. Those are ways that you can understand depth with one eye. Lots of them. Lots of them. Any specific one you want to know about? Yep. Good, Rachel. Fixed ratio, fixed interval. Yes, both of them are fixed. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. All right, kiddos. What you got? Any last question? Angle of convergence? Where'd you get that from? When have we ever talked about angle of convergence? Tatum, am I getting $1 every hour? What is that? Fadi, it's all important, man. Like I said, like you have, like, just think about it. You have you have abnormal psychology, all of that stuff that we talked about, like that we spent the entire week on. You've got like 6 or 7 questions from it. So no, I mean, there's no, like, I just have to cover as much of that material as I can so that you have to know it as to the best of your ability and hope that the things that um, that you do know are on there. Okay. Behavioral modification is just ways in which change, like finding ways to change people's behavior like different helping someone change their behavior. Stroboscopic movement is like the movement of your eye. That's why we never have like your eye is constantly like moving, like all the time. Like even when it's still, it's like having these like super tiny movements. Um, and yeah, so okay, I'm done. I'm going to bed. Ebbinghaus. Just remember the Ebbinghaus curve. Ebbinghaus is when is at the end of the you excuse me is when you first learn something. You're going to remember a high percentage of it, and the longer that time passes, the less and less that you get. At the end of the day, you've forgotten like 2/3 of it or something like that, and then you hold on to a lot of the rest of it afterwards. So yep, I am not having any spaghetti. I had pizza, so I am not upsetty. I am tired. So, all right, I'm going to bed. So good luck to you guys, especially those of you that are taking this tomorrow. You're going to do great, I'm sure. So just relax, stay calm. You'll freak out a bunch tomorrow, but that'll be okay. No worries. I am not going to like hang you out to dry. You'll be good. So it'll be good. It'll be good. Like bam in your face. Like this is what it's about. So otherwise, y'all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your night, and don't stay up too late. Make sure you get some sleep. You've got a lot of your brain's doing a lot tomorrow, so make sure you get enough sleep tonight. Okay. Good night, everyone. Y'all have a good night.